Hi, everyone. I'm Rejoice. Welcome to Umatta Consulting Podcast. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Miss Zoe, and she is the founder and CEO of ZB Agency. I would love for her to introduce herself so then we can dive right into the questions.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. So as you mentioned, my name is Zoe Bogan. I'm the founder and CEO of the ZB Agency, and I started my own firm to teach women, specifically in accounting, law, consulting, how to generate revenue to advance and make partner. I had a number of years at KPMG. Now I'm starting my own firm, and I've seen some of the activities that can really, and we'll discuss that a little bit later, really advance women in a different type of way. So we start taking our leadership seat. So I'm excited to speak with you. I'm excited to be here and delve into a number of topics.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to have you here. Could you first start telling us a little bit about your journey and what inspired you to start ZB Agency?
No, I love that. So I was at a big four accounting firm, KPMG, for about 15 years. And so I held various roles while at that firm. The last role was in mergers and acquisition. But here's the thing that I do, and I want all your listeners to pay attention to life for the breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs are always there, and they'll actually guide you in terms of what you should be doing. So I was always a part of our women's network, which was titled No, KPMG's Network of Women. And during that time, I created about 20 professional development programs outside of my job. And the last 5 to 7 focused on sales, because I was saying, if we can teach women how to sell, we can create more female partners. And then what happened is I made it my own. So when I stepped out, it wasn't as scary because I started looking at some of the stuff and I was like, wow, I did that here and did that. So that's what really got me on that journey and propelled my current firm.
Amazing. Love that. And, going along with what you're saying, despite expertise, hard work, many women are still struggling to break into high revenue generation and deal breaking. What is holding them back, in your opinion, and how can you change that perspective?
I love that question. We're going to give a moment of silence for that question. I absolutely love that question. Here's what it boils down to, and it's complicated, but it's so simple, and it is fear. It's basic fear. It's not talent. They have the technical expertise to do it, but I see the fear base. So what it is, it's a little uncomfortable for them. So while they have been used to for 10 or 15 or 20 years, putting their head down and doing the work, now you're saying, lift your head, go get a client, stretch yourself that way. And they're not doing it. And they're not doing it because they don't think that they have the skill set to do it. They definitely do, but it's stretching a different muscle. But it goes down to what I say is really fear. And what I also say with women is sometimes you have to do it afraid. The people in your practice are not necessarily going to say, oh, are you feeling afraid about that? Well, let me come and we'll talk about it for 15 minutes. That's not how it works. You're going to have to take a deep breath and do it afraid. And I know you were also getting to a little bit later the importance of investing in yourself. But what I want women to understand is you actually have the capabilities to do it. You just have to get in your mind, I want to excel. I want to make partner. Once you say that, things will fall in line and you'll find the areas that you need to invest in yourself to get there.
Amazing. Amazing. What does making partner mean for our listeners who have no idea what that term means?
Right. So partners at a firm, typically when you're talking about accounting and law, that is a high up as you can go. That is the creme de la creme. That is a part of the leadership. And typically when you get to those levels of roles, right, it's not only about your technical skills, but it's also about growing your client base, bringing in clients, being more of an expert. And that is where you kind of see women shying away from that. But that's the creme de la creme of any firm partner leadership.
Exactly. And I think you also described the partner relationship from your Revenue Catalyst program. And what should the participants expect within the 6 weeks in this types of program, if you want to elaborate a little bit about?
Yeah, I love that question. So many women or people in general think that it's just one thing. They think if I go to the right networking event, then I'll have all the clients that'll flood in. Or if I just do this one thing. But it's a culmination of everything working together, behavior, and repeating it. What I say is that when many people don't understand is that excellence is a behavior. We don't want
Mm,
to talk about that. You talk about wanting a seat at the table, but it is work and it is a behavior. So
right.
when women come through my program, they're understanding the behavior of a revenue generator. So what
Mm,
is it like to make a decision? All right,
okay.
I want to make 250. I want to make 500,000. What does that look like? What is it like for me to strategically attend the right events? What
Mm,
does my follow-up look like? And how am I not getting my feelings hurt when they don't respond? What does my digital presence look like? And then what is my behavior again and again and again? And so we don't talk about that. The other thing that I tell women as well is we have to network outside of our comfort zone. They may not like that, but networking with men is valuable to women's careers. They're doing more deals, they're controlling more deals. And so we also, as we network with one another, the
right.
strategy also has to be networking outside of your comfort zone. But the differentiator with my program is they are going to learn the behaviors, the action steps of a revenue generator. They are going to do it. At times, it is going to be uncomfortable, but they're
Right.
going to feel so transformed.
Very true, very true. But we have to expose ourselves in these environments to get visibility and
Right.
learn. Love that. How do you measure success of the Revenue Catalyst program? And what inspired you to for you to see in participants' careers?
I love all your questions. I'll tell you, I had someone in deal advisory go through my program. And then after she completed the program, I spoke with the lead partner who sponsored her. And she said her confidence had blossomed and she
Mm,
closed the deal. I like to hear that. You know what I
right.
mean? I like when women, one, close the deal, right? When you try get into another area and it really starts working. Another one of the people who went through my Revenue Catalyst program said, "Oh, I actually scheduled a meeting with a client that I wouldn't have done before." Yes. And I'm like, keep going.
Right.
So what I love is the stories. I love the advancement. I love them to keep going. And I love when they come back to me and highlighted that they got over their fear. Cause I'm like, you could do it.
Right.
You can really do it. You can do it. And so I love those stories. And you're going to start to see more of those stories. So right now, when you look at the percentage of law, women in general,
Mhm.
it's about 25% in accounting and I believe about 20% in law. You look at women of color, and I cater to all women, but you
Okay.
look at women of color who are at the partnership level, it's maybe less than 1.5%.
Mm,
You look at women in law, less than 3%. And
hmm.
so from my work, you're going to see those numbers transform. You're going to see
Gosh.
the number of women as a whole partnership increase because it's all about a revenue mindset. And
Mhm.
you're going to see the percentage of also women of color at the partnership level increase.
Are there specific KPI tools you're sort of gauging that the women will achieve? Are there specific performance from beginning to end?
Yes, they have a revenue calculator.
Okay, good.
They have a revenue calculator. So the first thing that they are doing as part of the program is deciding on your number. And here's the
Mm,
thing, even if you don't reach that number, it's more than what you started with. Make
right,
a decision. People are so afraid to make a decision. Feel what it's like to make a decision. When you make a decision in life, things happen. So they
right.
do actually have a revenue calculator that they're gearing towards. They also have a milestone document. So we're tracking, what events are you going to? Where
Mm,
are you speaking? Once you speak on a panel, you're an expert. Do it afraid. What is your follow-up strategy? What's your behavior? How are you time blocking? So it is a document that tracks it. But the main thing is also that revenue calculator. And it's so interesting. People are so afraid of the revenue calculator. I'm like, make a decision in life. You got to make a decision in life.
start with the decision.
That's not with a decision. Exactly.
Exactly, exactly. I'm curious to find out what inspired you to create the annual ZB agency conference and what is the unique, I guess, theme that is compared to other leadership conferences that most women would not get? What makes it unique?
Yeah. So where I have the Revenue Catalyst program that's closed to about 30 women per session, I wanted to open it up so all women of all industries can get all of this goodness. And so I created my program and it's leadership, but it is really focused on women being intentional about
Mhm.
doing deals together. Understand what it means to bring in $1 million. Understand the behavior of that. And then be in a safe space. I
Right.
also at my conferences too allow women to get their makeup done and get headshots because leadership is also a look. But
Yes.
what I found from it, many of the women love the conference. I actually have some that signed up to be on the wait list for 2026, which is a little fun. But here's some questions that came out of that. And they asked me, I always say, all right, I want you guys to do deals together and cut a deal. And they said, well, Zoe, tell us what that means and what that looks like. And I'm like, well, wow, it highlights there's more work to be done, right?
Right.
We need to be more comfortable speaking up and saying what we want as opposed to feel we have to do so much work before we ask a question. And I always tell them, it does not take 10 coffees to close a deal. You and I met over LinkedIn and here I am. And
Right.
so realistically, getting comfortable, women think that, oh, a transaction relationship is bad. It's not bad.
Right.
It's not bad. It's just a certain type of relationship. And it's
Right.
okay that men do it that way. Women can do it that way as well. You find something that fits with you, but we're all there to build a book of business. Yes, have some fun as well, but build a book of business. And so with this conference, I want women to really start to gain confidence, real
Mhm.
confidence to say, I deserve a seat at the table. Here's what I need. Here is how I can help you. And so I want that to build and build and build.
Awesome. Awesome. Is this something that is individual led and sponsored, or can organizations sponsor their women execs or managers or developers to attend?
Great question. So women can purchase tickets themselves and organizations can definitely do that. So I had a number of law firms, accounting firms, consulting firms. They have all sponsored women and they told me they're looking forward to sponsoring again. So this is going to be bigger and better.
Awesome. Awesome. And the more women you have around you as a support system, it's even better to
Even
sort of
better.
lean on someone else and compare experiences you've had in the past and current and also future.
It is very true. Here's something else that I also do with my conferences as well. So I always have a few men in attendance. And I
Okay.
also always have a few men on the panels because we need them as allies. And I'll give you an example of what one of the partners highlighted. He said, when men come into my office, they're telling me, what they're going to do, how they're going to do it. And he said, women, why are you not taking up space?
Right.
You're just as smart. Take up space. And so I never, even in my conferences, wanted to be so isolating. I actually do absolutely believe when you're talking about advancing diversity, whether or not it's women or people of color, we need to have allies with us there. They are in rooms that we are not in.
Mm,
And we need them to say, you know what? Everybody is not at the table.
right.
We need everybody at the table. And so at my conferences, you're always going to see men playing a role because we need that as women to advance. And honestly, when you ask many women who made partner, who helped you get to partner,
Right.
it's men.
Right.
It's
Right.
so important to have them there.
Exactly, exactly. Someone had to speak on your behalf, someone who
Like,
may have the expertise already or the support of the organization. And definitely sometimes it's men that are in your corner. So
yes.
that's amazing to know. What led you to create the ZB Golf Series, and how does it help women in deal making?
I always have a good story, but I do have another good story for you. And this came out of my conference. So had a panel. I always have a golf panel as well. Had a golf panel. And there was a woman telling the story when she was an associate at a big four accounting firm. So there was a partner there who was an avid golfer. And it turned out that he was only asking the men to go play golf. So HR found out and said, you cannot do that.
You
You
cannot do
cannot
that.
do that, my friend. You can't do that. So he said, okay, I'll go down the list and ask women. So what do they typically do? They start at the senior level from senior manager, senior associate, get down to associate. She was an associate at the time and she got asked. She got asked because all of those women said no.
Oh,
He went out, had a great time and saw all the opportunities. So why I created the ZB Golf Series, it's so women, if they are in that situation, will never say no again. So what it is a 4 weeks with a golf pro. You learn how to hit the ball, you network, you learn some tools and keep it moving. Nobody is Tiger Woods here. Nobody is Tiger Woods, but I want them to get confident enough to say, wow, I can
yeah.
hit the ball. I want them to get in the flow of deal making traffic because
Right.
that's where deals are done. That's where opportunities are. So that's why I created it. So last year we had sessions and we're doing it again this year, May, June, and July, doing it again. May is already filled, but I want women to get comfortable saying, yes,
Right.
I can do it. And so when you're invited to those spaces, don't shy away from them. Go for it.
Exactly. Exactly. I love the line where you said, "We're not Tiger Woods here. No,
Not
no
Tiger
one is
Woods.
is in a tournament to win any sort of trophy."
No, calm the energy. We are not Tiger Woods.
Yes, yes. And I'm sure he himself would not probably want to put anyone in that situation. Just enjoy yourself and
Enjoy
play
yourself.
and have fun. I
Enjoy
love that.
yourself.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes. Most people think the deals are being made when there's like formal meetings where people are taking notes, presentations are happening. But you're teaching otherwise, where the socialization is taking place when people are more calm and just having fun.
Calm and having fun, and then the follow up and being easy with yourself. And
Right,
also really paying attention to the client and being at ease with your
right,
product, right? You know what's so interesting? I speak to a lot of women and they say, well, I don't want to come across as salesy. And I'm like,
right,
well, are you selling a bad product? Don't you believe in your product? But that's that interesting thing in terms of coming off as I'm selling. Well, we are selling something.
right,
But if you believe in yourself and you believe in your product, right?
right.
You don't want to cause your client harm. You believe you're the best at what you do, then go for it. But it also goes back to what we're talking about. It's about confidence. It's about
Mhm.
belief. You own the room. And so it's also a lot of that work as well. Women at this period, you see how things are being rolled back with DEI and
Right,
certain measures. It's always still there, but this is a time for us really to bolster up, support one another like never before, support yourself like never before, have good self talk to yourself if
right,
nobody does, because it's not always in those environments that you may be the only woman, you may be the
right.
only woman of color. And then good self talk is really good and helpful to get you through.
Absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And I love how you mentioned that with the current challenges we have with the DEI, this is even more important for women to
Mhm.
participate in. Could you give us a successful story of one of your participants who attended the ZB Golf Series that was able to close a deal or gain confidence after attending? Who was that person? What happened? And how did that
Oh, I love it. You know what I love from all of them? I'll tell you how I get the stories after about how they connected,
work?
how they're doing stuff together. So, as an example, one woman was actually getting married. She was
Okay.
getting married and she was in sales. There was another attorney in the group who actually did prenups, and she hired her to do her prenup. That was one. Like I love that story. I absolutely like love that story. Another story that I loved was one of the women who participated in my golf series. She actually has her own wine line,
Oh,
lovely
wow.
wine. Black owned wine company, won Rose of the Year. But I featured her wine at my conference. I'm going to do
Oh,
it again. Right. And so it's those things where I'm like, let's continue to be intentional. So
right.
I want more of that. But those are two stories. People have repeated and joined the golf series again, and they're excited. But I love when they even get together and play and
Right.
say, here's what we're doing here. I'm like, yes, keep it going.
Yeah, the networking and the connections, they go far away than just the event itself.
Right.
Amazing. How do you see the landscape for female leaders as we started talking about DEI changing in the next 5 to 10 years? And what role do you think a ZB agency will play in the evolution of some of the challenges or changes that women are going to face?
That's a really great question. So even outside of this current climate, and I always go back to leadership numbers. So when you look at the percentage of female partners has increased slightly, right? And so
Right,
we're at about like 20%, started at 20, increasing
right,
to 20%. But that's still not totally great because they're coming in to a lot of those roles 50-50, right? So how does
right.
it drop that much? So even outside of this current climate, I think that the leadership numbers still are not changing, especially
Mm,
also when you look at women of color at those levels, right? And
right.
so I want people to be like mindful of that. How I think ZB agency is going to change the landscape is because I'm specifically focused on revenue. And
Gotcha.
I'm telling them, if you go to your firm
Mhm.
and you say, I have a book of business that can close, I can make partner.
Right.
A lot of women are saying, well, I worked on a project. I'm working on a project that's $1 million project. That is great. Did you bring in the project? When you talk about you bringing in a project, it's a different type of confidence. It's a different type of charisma, and the negotiation is different. And
Right.
so what you're going to see from my firm and what I'm doing is empowering women to have a different type of conversation, but many of them are going to have to take the first step. So I don't care if your firm is not sponsoring you. You sponsor yourself. If you want to
Exactly.
be the best, you're going to have to invest in yourself. And here is what it looks like. Anything in life, I'm sure even with your consulting firm and have you started, it's not always easy. But when you get to the other end, you're like, wow, I did it. I really can do it. And so I like the numbers of women overalls at 25%. Let's get that to 30 to 35%. Women of color at these leadership levels of partner is extremely low. We're not even breaking double digits. That's a problem. And it's not because of technical skills.
Right.
It's not because of technical skills. You have the technical skills, but now we're going to need to tap into something different.
Exactly. I love that. And who doesn't want to hear about revenue, right?
I
Every
know.
owner, CFO would like to hear, how do we make more revenue? How do we retain?
Right. But it's a little frightening for them, right? And so I think also women have to realize to a certain extent, this is not all women, right? How we're all groomed.
Right.
Because it's like, all right, be great. Get along to get along. But now you are in a situation where you have to say, no, I want it. But when you're so used to getting along and not coming off as salesy, and in this environment, you now have to say, no, I want this. I want that. I want this client. Here's why I'm the best. And that's a little different. So the energy is a little different. So I see that going along. That mindset shift have to happen in a lot of women. And again, we highlighted before, take a deep breath and do it afraid. You'll live. You'll be okay.
Awesome. I love that advice. In your corporate experience at
Mhm.
KPMG, what challenges did you encounter that you felt like it made you who you are today for maybe young execs or folks who are entering that world?
I wish at times it would have been a little bit easier, right? But then if it was easier, I wouldn't be where I am today, right?
That's true.
So that's one. I wish there were real tools and mechanisms for corporations to see all diverse talent. Because what happens is, even though they say when you have more diverse talent at the leadership level, we make more money. It's a nice, good soundbite, but it never really works out. You have so many talented people, bowing out. And I'm like, I just wish it was easier. I wish that firms really had a mechanism to really hone that talent. They're trying, when you have culture programs and HR programs, but it's not hitting at the level that it could. Creating a nice culture for advancement is really important. And, so what I had to do in this instance is do it outside of the firm.
Right.
There's still my ideas, still my energy, even some things I have coming up with from an M&A perspective that I'm going to work on. But I wish it was a clearer, more supportive path at times. But at the same time, I wouldn't be who I am, but I can see where corporations can be better at that. And the unfortunate thing is that with them rolling back certain aspects of DE&I, we were even like merely scratching the surface. And now you like rolling it back. It's like, well, guys, well, how do we really continue to advance?
Exactly.
So that's the unfortunate part.
Exactly. I think right now, the most important area for most women or corporations, how do we tell the story of the value they get out of these programs and the support? Because a lot of women do need these types of places to feel belonging and also be themselves and get that support from, especially if their trajectory is in leadership and want to stay in corporations. Awesome.
No, it's really true. And the first thing that I say to women is, make a decision.
Right.
There's power in deciding. The first thing you have to do is make a decision. And if you make a decision, seek out a professional development program. If you know that you want to focus on revenue or something like that and confidence building things, come to me, right? Or if there's other programs that you should seek out. So make a decision, seek out a program. The third thing that I think that women should do is go back to their manager and say, all right, here is what I need to excel. How can the firm support me?
Right.
Can you sponsor me in this program? If you can't do the whole 100%, can you sponsor 50, right? The
Exactly.
fourth thing, if they say we can't do it, find a way to get it done. So you may have to save up or ask the company if they have a payment plan. I do, because here's the end goal. You're making a decision about what you want. Nobody stands in the way of that. So even if a corporation is not going to support you, you support yourself. Here's the other interesting thing, and nobody ever really talked about this about 10 or 15 years ago. All those beautiful executive CEOs, they all have coaches. But
Right.
nobody ever talked about that. So
Right.
you just thought that they woke up fantastic. But no, everybody has a coach of some sort and getting some leadership development. It's starting to be talked about a little bit more, but a coach has a coach.
Yes.
The
Yes.
most successful people who want to be successful, they have coach and they continue to have coaches because we all have blind spots. And
Right.
excellence is a behavior. So
Right.
if you want to be excellent, you have to put in the work.
Exactly. Exactly. Well said. Very true. Very true. Love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming to speak with us about
Yeah.
ZB Agency and also empowering women. Where can our listeners find your information or to contact ZB Agency and any upcoming events or programs?
No, I love it. So I am on LinkedIn. My name is Zoe Bogan. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can also go to my website, ZB Agency. This summer, you can catch me on the golf course. We still have openings for June and July. Catch us on the golf course. It's only open to 10 to 12 women. So make sure you sign up. I also have a Revenue Catalyst program coming up. May launch. We also have a September launch, and that's only open to 30 women per cohort. And so I'm excited about that. And I want them to look out for the third annual conference happening 2026. So you can go to my website to sign up to be on the wait list. And yes, I am here to serve. I am here to help create some impact. Let's get to it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and we hope you have a wonderful day.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.